You got here 726 seconds sooner than I expected. Good to see you, new type. I'm Paylor Sakaki, and I'm in charge of the Aragami technology R&D. Well, we'll be seeing a lot of each other from now on. Welcome aboard. Now then, as you can see, I'm still pretty busy getting prepared. Johan, why don't you get your business out of the way first?
Dr. Sakaki, I think it's high time you learn to separate business from private matters. Thank you for taking part in the aptitude test. My name is Johannes von Schicksal. I'm in charge of the Fenrir branch in this region. Congratulations again on passing the test. I expect great things from you.
He's a former techie too, you know. The new type's medical checkups interest you to no end, right, Johan?
I decided to retire as a techie because we have you. Keep that in mind.
Did you really ever retire, though?
Now then, this is where the real fun starts. Let me explain the Fenrir's Corporation's objectives once more. Your direct duties are very simple. They are to keep the Aragami in this region at bay, and to gather materials, which are then converted into resources needed to maintain this advanced base, as well as to complete the impending Aegis project.
Oh, look at these numbers.
The Aegis project is, simply put, a plan to create a utopia impregnable against Aragami attacks, located far out to sea, close to the former Sea of Japan trench.
Ha-ha!
Once the project is complete, humankind will be able to avoid extinction. At least, for a while.
Amazing! So this is what a new type is like.
Paylor, you're disrupting my lecture.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just so taken aback by these stats, I got carried away.
At any rate, the future of humankind is at stake, so give it your best effort. All right, I'll be taking my leave now. I'm leaving it all to you, Paylor. Send me the data when you're done.
Okay, we're good to go now. Lie down on that bed, will you? You'll feel sleepy for a little while, but I assure you, there's nothing to worry about. When you wake up, you'll be in your own room. Just a little cat nap, so to speak. You'll get about 10,800 seconds. Sweet dream. There you are. All right, let's jump right in. What do you think an Aragami is? The nemesis of humankind, an absolute predator, destroyer of the world. Well, that about sums it up. Now then, these aren't misconceptions. Rather, you could say it means one simply has his eyes fixed on the phenomena before him. Okay, I have a question. Have you ever wondered how and why the Aragami came into being? As you probably know, the Aragami appeared out of nowhere one day. Since then, their numbers exploded. Yep, as if they were ripping right through every evolutional process.
Hey, listen, does this lecture have a point? I mean, what do we care about the reason for the Aragami existence?
Sure about that?
Well,
an Aragami has no brain. Neither does it have a heart, nor even spinal fluid. We frail humans will perish if we get blasted in the head or the chest, but that's not enough to bring down an Aragami. An Aragami is a cluster of auricle cells, each of which is a single-cell organism that thinks and preys on others. That's right. An Aragami is in itself a colony of thousands. Make that hundreds of thousands of life forms. And this powerful, graceful fusion of cells can't be destroyed by conventional weapons, not the ones we have anyway. So how on earth are you people supposed to battle these Aragami?
Let's see. Just keep slashing and blasting them with our God Arc?
Yes. The short answer is that using a God Arc, A bioweapon embedded with the same oracle cells is the only way to stop the fusing of an Aragami's oracle cells. However, this can also cause rogue cell colonies to refuse and then form a new entity. The best thing to do would be to extract the Aragami core, the cell colony serving as a command center. But this is extraordinarily difficult to do. Even with Godark, we have no way to deliver a decisive blow. Somewhere along the way, the people likened this absolute being to countless gods that have been passed down around here, and they started to call it Aragami. All right, that's it for today's lecture. I'd like you to refer to the Norn database in the terminal for more details about the Aragami. Understood? Have you ever heard the term Arcology? Arcology means a building completely self-contained and self-sufficient in production and consumption. Yep, that's right. This Fenrir branch, with the den at its center, can be thought of as a type of arcology. To put it in extreme terms, with the exception of a certain branch, should the entire Fenrir Corp collapse, this one remaining branch will be able to live on exactly as it did before, by taking full care of production and consumption on its own. The den has a fully equipped plant below for producing food, Godark, and various other materials. And it boasts a solid defensive capacity with an anti-Aragami armored wall along its perimeter, not to mention you top-notch god eaters, among other things. That's the Fenrir branch in a nutshell. It's a highly advanced arcology project optimized to protect humankind. But there's still one issue that plagues us. It can only house a limited number of people at any given time. As I'm sure you all know, there has been for some time a vast outer ghetto surrounding the Far East branch. But the fact is, we still don't have the space available to house them all here. I'm afraid the best we can do at this time is to surround the outer ghetto with an anti-Aragami armored wall.
But do you think that's enough? I hear the armor has been compromised a lot lately.
Well, that's why we have the God Eater Defense Unit posted there. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that your family lives in the outer ghetto. Forgive me for sounding so flippant.
Oh, no, I just...
Actually, there was a plan to expand the den downward and build another inner residential section.
But the Aegis project improved on that plan and made it even safer, right?
Yes. At this time, most of the resources from the Far East branch's underground plant are being allocated to Aegis construction. Why don't we talk about that another time? As I mentioned before, the oracle cells, which comprise an Aragami, will eat anything. Not just life forms like animals and plants, but also minerals and synthetic resins, such as plastics. It will even devour nuclear waste, known to be toxic to normal life forms. Buildings, solid earth, you name it. See, this is what happens. As a result, the environment as we know it, leftover so to speak, is diminishing at a high rate. In this area, people were once known to view cherry blossoms in spring and maple leaves in autumn. But by now, there's no hope of ever doing that. Meanwhile, the Aragami tend to occasionally take on the qualities of the things they've eaten. Recently, some Aragami have been actually discovered photosynthesizing. 79% nitrogen, 21% oxygen. Despite the fact that we have only a third of the plants that existed in the world 20 years ago, somehow the air of this planet has been preserved. Don't you find it extremely ironic that we owe this phenomenon to the Aragami's photosynthesis?
Mom, I can't eat anymore.
Really, he has no sense of duty whatsoever.
Listen, people. Have you ever heard the term Nova's devouring apocalypse?
Yes, after the Aragami battle among themselves, the extinction of humankind is triggered by Nova, an entity grown so huge that it can swallow up the entire planet.
Exactly. No one even knows who first spoke of this event. And some people have dismissed it as an idle rumor.
But once the Aegis project is completed, we'll be safe from even that.
Do you know what kind of animal a dog is?
Huh?
Their numbers are quickly dwindling. But even now, you can see some dogs existing around the outer ghetto. Dogs are intelligent. They may not be able to speak or understand specific words, but they can communicate with humans. If an Aragami takes on the qualities of a dog, then perhaps we can find a way to coexist.
Coexist?
Of course, from a communication standpoint, we're not limited to dogs. Long ago, you could watch an animal tamer manipulate wild beasts in a tent called a circus.
But there's no way that we can ever get along with Aragami.
Aragami. Back when the oracle cells were first discovered, they still existed in amoeba form. After that, Aragami in earthworm form were found. 6 months later, Aragami in beast form were sighted. And by the time a year had passed, an entire continent had been thoroughly destroyed by the expanding Aragami. Even considering that they evolve by taking on the form of whatever they eat, wouldn't you say that's a blistering pace? Right. Now, strictly speaking, the Aragami don't actually evolve. The fact is, the oracle cell's gene sequence hasn't changed at all from the originals. You hear me? Not one tiny bit.
But wait a minute, that's not possible. They're changing form, aren't they?
The Aragami, you see. They're just like you right now. For them, taking on the form of whatever they've eaten is the same as acquiring knowledge is for us. That's right. All they're doing is acquiring knowledge and getting smarter. What kind of bone structure would they need to move faster in our environment? What would they need to develop the ability to fly? They're busy absorbing tons of information, like a sponge soaks up water. In a mere 20 years, they've reached a highly advanced level of development in terms of form and function. Too bad the Aragami weren't as adverse to studying as young Koda here. Yes, they're extremely dedicated and diligent students. I mean, it really boggles the mind. I've even heard rumors of an Aragami that is actually capable of launching missiles. If that's really true, then that means they've even taken on the form of man-made tools. Isn't that just intriguing? If they can incorporate such complex information into their paradigm, then perhaps one day, in the not-too-distant future, an Aragami in human form will appear.
An Aragami in human form?
Hey, hold up!
Doc! What's it doing here?
I'll explain later. Just leave that Aragami alone. And come over here for a second, will you? It's coming.
I am hungry?
Whoa!
Well now, good to see you. So you finally decided to show yourself. Soma, thank you for bringing her here. I can be with her now, thanks to you.
No need to thank me. But how about an explanation?
Well, since she was being stubborn about not showing up, I eradicated what she's been feeding on in this area. Even the pickiest of eaters can't ignore the pangs of hunger, right?
Man, your sneakiness at least has no peer.
Doctor? So who is this kid?
Oh, right. We shouldn't be chatting here like this. I'll explain everything in my lab. I apologize for keeping it from you all this time. You'll come with us, won't you?
I'm ready to eat.
Huh?
I was ready to eat?
What did you just say?
I'll say it as many times as necessary. This is an Aragami.
No, wait, holy!
What? Oh,
Now, calm down. This one won't prey on you, I promise. As you know, all Aragami share a trait known as bias.
an Aragami's unique tendency for predatory behavior. That's the same thing our god Arc uses. Isn't that right?
That's correct. I'm sure that's common sense for you God-eaters.
Did you?
Of course.
This Aragami's bias seems to be directed at other Aragami of a higher order. We humans don't even fall into the category of food, as far as she's concerned. It's a common misperception. Aragami aren't born with characteristics of other life forms. Rather, they evolve at a breakneck pace through devouring. As a result of that, their diverse evolutionary potential is condensed into a very short period of time. And that's what makes an Aragami what it is.
You mean this child?
Right. Just like humankind, they temporarily got stuck in a dead end in their process of evolution. She's an Aragami evolving much like a human.
A human-like Aragami, you mean?
Yes, based on an examination I conducted earlier, the equivalent of her cranial nerves and synapses seem to be functioning exactly like a human brain. Clearly, she's got an incredible capacity to learn. Quite an intriguing specimen.
Doc!
Yes, Kota?
I think I got most of what you said. Actually, it was mostly way over my head. Exactly what does she mean when she says food? Or I'm ready to eat?
Food!
It sounds pretty ominous coming from her.
Like I said, the bias of an Aragami basically dictates that it will not partake of any being similar to itself. That said, in times of dire hunger, just now for instance, she is likely to gobble up anything, no matter how unpleasant it may taste. But that's an exception to the rule. As you know, Aragami is just a nickname. But there have been examples of multiple entities adopting the design of what we humans envision as the gods. These have been spotted worldwide. What thought process led them to adopt such a mode of life? By what process did they come to worship gods? Don't you find that intriguing? And this Aragami child here, who has completely assumed a human form, is an even rarer case, you see. Oh, but I digress. Well, I think that should do it for this study group. One last thing. If you wouldn't mind, I would like to keep this a secret just between us. Are we agreed?
But we'll have to report it to the advisor and the director.
Sakuya, you're an exalted god-eater and protector of humankind, and yet you intend to tell your superiors that I smuggled an Aragami into the den? The headquarters at the battlefront?
Well, no. But why exactly did you do it?
Didn't I tell you before? Because she's a valuable sample. She's merely the subject of an important personal research project. That's all. Don't worry, I made sure this room had its own communications infrastructure and security system. It's not linked to the other sections. Now, I'm sure you wouldn't want anyone prying needlessly into your private affairs either, would you? Oh, and by the way, you and I are already accomplices in all this.
Ready to eat!
I'd like you to be her friend. You too, Soma. Please, look out for her.
Don't be ridiculous. She may be good at imitating humans, but she's still a monster.
Now then, will the human turn into a god, or a god into a human? Let the race begin.